Hello and welcome to this session on critical reasoning or critical thinking. If you've gone through the first video or first couple of videos, you would know that critical thinking is basically about argument analysis. And even if you have tried the questions and gone through the questions, you would see the questions are about strengthening the argument, weakening the argument, identifying the assumption in the argument. So the very basic idea of what an argument is, I'm assuming for now that you're aware of and have some idea and some practice in the subject, right? Here the focus is a little more on question solving, though we'll repeat the idea over and over again, right? So I'm straight away starting with question number 1, right? What I've observed in most people is that the problem is not logic, the problem is clarity in reading or the comprehension skills. So because the passage is not clear, oftentimes everything looks the same. All options might seem okay, or the options themselves are not clear with the meaning of what the option is saying, right? But hopefully we'll be able to see that for each question there is only one answer and rest of them actually are either very far away or the opposite in most cases, right? So question number 1, the skills that we'll be using are paraphrasing. That means taking this big paragraph and reducing it to simple words for us, right, in our own language. I will also try and do a Hindi version for this because again I think mostly the agenda is understanding what's happening very clearly, right? Because of the time pressure or because of the language, a lot of times we get confused and we have half meaning of things, right? So I strongly recommend working on your reading skills on a daily basis also. So this is question number 1, going step by step, sentence by sentence. Also this is going to be a slightly slow and grueling process, so please stay with me. Before the printing press, so first of all think in your head, okay, so there is a printing press issue and you know what a printing press is, where books get printed, where newspapers get printed, the printing machine. And before the printing press means before the machine was invented. Books could be purchased only in expensive manuscript copies. So we're talking about books, right? And before the printing press, let's write it, before the printing press, books were expensive. Okay? It also says manuscript copies. So I don't, even if I don't know what is the meaning of manuscript, I know before the printing press there were certain kind of books. What kind of books? Manuscript copies, and they were really expensive. And I should be able to guess, I know printing press or a machine will make life easy. So what would happen after printing press? Even if I read in the paragraph, it says the printing press produced books that were significantly less expensive. So books now are cheap, right? Before printing press expensive, after printing press cheap. Then he says the public's demand for the printed books in the first years after the invention of the printing press was many times greater than the demand. So the demand for let's say manuscript kinds, which was before the printing press, and demand for the printing press books, right? Demand for the manuscript books and demand for the printing. So the demand for the printing press book is way more. There is much more demand for the printing press book, right? And then this increase, so this increase, the demand was this and the demand has gone up. Because of this increase, I am saying literacy must have gone up, right? More people must have learned how to read. And that's what it says in the paragraph. This increase demonstrates that there was a dramatic jump in the number of people who learned how to read in the papers, right? So, first of all, the argument should be clear to me before I start strengthening it or weakening it, right? So, what is the argument? He says, after the printing press, the demand went up. Therefore, I am concluding that the literacy must have gone up. And you should be able to see also, why would the demand go up? Because more people must be reading the book, right? But critical thinking means looking at this information more carefully. In fact, if you look at the question also, it says which one of the following statements, if true, casts doubt on the argument. Casting a doubt in the argument means weakening it or attacking it or looking at it with a critical eye, with a doubt that can this person or has this person gone wrong somewhere maybe. So the demand has gone up, and he's saying that must be because of literacy. More people must know how to read, right? Is that the only way to go, for the demand to go up? Can't a single person buy more books, right? So I am the same person. I used to buy, these were expensive, so I used to buy one. But later when things became cheap, I started buying more. So simply because of one person, the demand might have gone up. Or let's say simply because of those people who were already buying books, the demand might have gone up. Or basically there is a connection that he is building between this demand in this increase in demand to this literacy. If you want to weaken it, you have to attack it. So what you can also do is, okay, so demand does not mean literacy is what you have to look for in your head. Then once with that idea in your head, if you look at the options, life would be fairly straightforward, right? So in this case, the answer would be C, right? And again, C looks very long, but go slowly. In the first years after the printing press was invented, printed books were purchased primarily by people who had always bought. Same people who were buying the expensive manuscript, the same people were buying the printed books, but they were buying it in greater numbers because they could buy more books. And because of this possibility, the demand has gone up, but we see there is no connection with the literacy, and therefore we have broken the connection or attacked the argument. So the answer for this question is C, right? I would actually like to go through each option, but it takes too much time and the camera heats up. So for now I am keeping the discussion limited to the correct answer, and I hope you see some what is happening, right? And I strongly recommend going through the basics of argument analysis, right? So question number 1, answer C, and point being, one should be very clear exactly what is happening. This was the missing link. This is where I had to attack. How does demand lead to literacy? Is there any way to increase demand without literacy, right? Yes, I see there is another way, and I might not have seen. If I was generally reading the newspaper, I would have believed it. Most of us do it. But at least while practicing this subject, there is a very good opportunity to learn this also. Because this dhoka of missing information is happening everywhere in our day-to-day lives, which we learn as we do more questions, right? Bevex, an artificial sweetener used only in soft drinks, this is just basic information, is carcinogenic for mice. So Bevex, bad for mice, right? Simple relationship. Bevex, bad for mice. But there is more information given, but only when it is consumed in very large quantities. Big Bevex, bad for mice, right? And this is my way of writing it down. You just need to do it in your head. The relation should be very clear. Bevex in large quantity, bad for mice, right? To ingest an amount of Bevex equivalent to the amount fed to the mice in the relevant studies. So I should be able to quickly grasp the idea what he is trying to tell me, that the amount required for causing bad to mice for humans is 25 cans, right? So in the experiment, let's say 1 gram was given, but the mice itself is only 100 grams. So from 1 out of 100 or some calculation like that, they concluded that for a human, 25 cans bad, right? That the person would have to drink 25 cans of Bevex. And he says 25 cans are bad and therefore Bevex safe, right? First of all, with a name like Bevex, and if I care for my health, I should have been careful myself. That he's saying 25 cans are bad, but suddenly he's saying therefore Bevex is safe. So either he is mad or he is assuming something, right? What is he assuming? That most people do not drink 25 cans a day, right? Because if I tell you that people do drink 25, I tell you, no boss, I drink 30 cans a day, I am addicted to these sweeteners, so I am drinking 30 cans a day. if I'm drinking 30 cans a day and 25 cans is bad, would BVEX be safe for me? The answer would be no, and therefore what is the link? He's assuming that humans don't drink more than 25. More than 25. However you want to understand this information, right? So 25 cans are bad, humans don't drink more than 25, therefore BVEX is safe. This is better, right? This is more cohesive. So now, if I wanted to strengthen it, I would support this. I would say, yeah, most of the people in most of the countries do not drink 25, so therefore BVEX is safe. If I wanted to attack it, I would say, what's wrong with you? My uncle, my chachi, my taya, everyone drinks more than 25 cans. BVEX is not safe for them. But here the question wasn't strengthening or weakening, it was this itself, identify the assumption, right? Question is, in order for the conclusion that BVEX is safe for people to be properly drawn, which one of the following must be true? So there was this conclusion process and you wanted to make it better, right? Properly drawn, like the previous example. Like if I tell you x plus y is equal to 7 and then I give you y is equal to 5 and you include x is equal to 2, this is properly drawn. There is no doubt about this. So similarly, if I add this information here, this becomes better. That means the spokesperson must have assumed this while he's saying it, that humans don't drink more than 25 cans. So this is question number 2. I want to do question number 4 first, so that again we can learn that how critical thinking is basically, or argument analysis is a day-to-day or should be a day-to-day skill for us. Using this skill will help us in our life, right? In making decisions, in making choices. So for example, in question number 4 it says, nutritionists have recommended that people eat more fiber. Okay, makes sense, should eat more fiber. Advertisement for a new fiber supplement pill states only that it contains 44% fiber, right? And you know how this ad will look, right? It will look on a big hoarding, on a big channel with lots of like tamasha around it, or with new pill with 44% fiber, right? And doctors are saying fiber is good for your health, so this pill is very, very good for your health, right? But what do we have to do? We must look at it again with a critical eye, with a little bit of a skepticism, okay? How can this information be misleading? In fact, that is the purpose of this question. It says the advertising claim is misleading in its selection of information on which to focus. The claim is focusing on this information, so a lot of information is not given. So he's saying the advertising claim is misleading in its selection of information if which one of the following is true, right? So whether this information is correct or is it misleading, right? So if I tell you that 44% fiber, so first of all, if you have done any bit of percentages, and this is maths logic, 44% of what should be the question, right? So let's say if the pill is 1 gram, right? 44% of that would be 0.44 gram, right? So this pill has 0.44 gram. And the human body requires 0.41 grams. So then this is a very good pill, right? The body requires 0.41 grams. This has 0.44 grams. Is the ad hiding anything or misleading in any way? No, right? Try and weaken it. How will I do it? Very easy. Again, assume the pill to be 1 gram and you have 0.44 gram of fiber in this pill, right? But I tell you that 1 kg fiber is needed for a human body. And this pill has 40.44 gram per pill. That means I'll have to pop 100 pills to get that fiber. So is this a good pill for fiber? Definitely not, right? If you get that idea, the same idea is mentioned in whatever words, let's say in option E, the recommended daily intake of fiber is 20 to 30 grams and the pill contains 1/3 gram. Human body requires 30 gram, but the pill, when you calculate the final thing, it has 1/3 of a gram. So is this pill doing what the fiber is supposed to do? Obviously not, and therefore the advertising is misleading, because this might look good, 44%, how 44% fiber, I should eat it. But if I look at the fine print, if I look at the detail, so this is question number 4, right? Question number 3, and this is a kind of an argument that you see every day between people, right? People present stories and somebody says something against it or for it, right? So that kind of an example. Harry, airlines have made it possible for anyone to travel around the world in much less time than was formerly possible. So translate it for yourself. He's saying that airlines have reduced the time. If you have done the translation well and I got the sentence right. Judith in response says, that is not true. Many flights are too expensive for all but the rich. First of all, if you got what Harry was saying clearly, then you should have found what Judith said, there should have been something wrong in it, right? Why? Because Harry was not talking about price, right? Harry was talking about time taken to travel. And Judith is talking about expensiveness, or she's talking about the price factor. And I can see where the confusion might have happened, because Harry says airlines have made it possible for anyone, right? So maybe Judith is picking on that anyone and saying no, not anyone, only rich people can do that, right? So once I understand that, I should go, oh yeah, the discrepancy is resolved. I at least understand Judith's point of view. She's not illogical, she just chose the wrong, or maybe she chose the right thing to focus on, and she's specifically pointing out one thing, that okay, not everyone can do it. And which of the options covers it? Anyone can afford. And because what was the question? Judith's response shows that she interprets Harry's statements to imply. What is the meaning that Judith has concluded from Harry's statement? She must have concluded that anyone can afford to travel long distance. And that is why she is responding by saying no, not anyone, only rich people, right? So that should be done here. Question number 6, another ad. It says, anyone who exercises knows from first-hand experience that exercise leads to better performance of such physical organs. So he's saying exercise leads to better performance of physical organs. So if you do exercise, your physical organs performance will go up. Even for that, notice he's not presenting any data or anything. He's saying you know from first-hand experience, right? And it improves muscle tone also. Very good. And now he says, and since your brain is a physical organ, so he's saying now the brain is also a physical organ. Therefore, exercising the brain also will have benefits, right? Your actions can improve its performance. So he's saying exercise your brain and your brain will improve. And on this basis, he's saying act now, buy my magazine, right? Buy the stimulus magazine. So exercise is good for physical organ, brain is also a physical organ, therefore it should be exercised if you want to make it better. And you want to make it better, buy our magazine, because it will exercise your brain, right? So now, the question is, the advertisement employs which one of the following argumentative strategies? Now, most of us have not done a study of argumentative strategies, so off the bat we should not, most of us will not be able to guess the answer, right? But I can go option by option and look at what they are saying and then compare it with what is happening in the paragraph. Not only with information, with what is the backing for each information. For example, even for this exercises increases physical organ, there is no data. He's just saying you know from first-hand experience. Maybe my experience is different, but anyway. So option A, it cites experimental evidence that subscribing to the product being advertised has desirable consequences. Don't get lost in the lengthy sentence. Experimental evidence for what? For subscribing to the product being advertised has desirable consequences. In the paragraph, any information given to prove that no, BTS is good for it, it just says it is good for it, right? You buy it and your brain will exercise. But was there any proof given? Maybe something like that, yeah, we gave our magazine to 40 people and 35 of them turned really, really smart and became the prime minister and world leaders, right? So that kind of data is given. This will, that's what A would mean. It cites experimental evidence that subscribing to the product. What is the product? And again, instead of saying the magazine, it is saying product. So you, while reading the question again, you might get lost. So it's all about clarity of comprehension. Has desirable consequences, right? So A is not my answer, because for this there was no evidence given. In fact, in the whole paragraph there was no evidence given, which is the case for most ads, remember, while you listen to them. It ridicules people who do not subscribe to stimulus. In the paragraph, ridicule means to make fun of. Is anybody being made fun of in the paragraph? And in case you don't know what it means as an advertising strategy to ridicule, you'll see it in a lot of ads. I remember there was an ad by a coaching class where the panel says, okay, where are you from, where are you from? And everyone gets up and says, I am from Time. And only one person does not get up, and that one person was fat. And fat person is a common joke, and it's a low grade joke, but it's a joke. And it is basically that if you're not with the coaching class, you are a ridiculous person, you're foolish like that fat person. Though the why is the fat person foolish, that the ad did not cover, obviously, right? So it ridicules people. I see in my paragraph nobody is getting ridiculed, so obviously B is not my answer. C, it explains the process by which the product brings about the result. Does it say what kind of exercise and how exactly the BTS will increase my brain or improve my brain, or what exactly is the method of the exercise? No, it does not do so. So C also is not, because it does not explain the process by which the product will work. It explains the process by which the exercise might work the physical organs, but nothing about the product. D, it supports its recommendation by careful analysis. What careful analysis? It is saying from first-hand experience. Matlab is saying from your own life you should know. That is not a very careful analysis. Careful analysis would be like a PhD kind of thesis on the subject, that for 30 years we have done a research and we found this, this and this, right? So D is not obviously the answer. E, it implies that brains and muscle are similar in one respect, right? First of all, I'm left with E. But it implies that brains and muscle are similar in one respect. They are, because he's saying both of them belong to physical organ category, and therefore they are similar in the other respect, because heart and lungs improve of exercise, and hearts and lungs are physical organs. Brain is also a physical organ. Brain will also improve because of exercise. So this is the logical connection that he's making, right? So this strategy he is using, is definitely using that if there is similarity in one thing, there would be similarity in other. For all you know, this exercise thing only works for heart and lung, and brain doesn't work. Brain does work, but let's say, right, we do not. So, or it's not because of the physical organ bit, it's because of some other thing, right? So that's the strategy that he's using here. He's saying if these are similar in one regard, they must be similar in all regards, right? So another example of this strategy would be nice, but for now this is it. So question number 6, your answer should be E, even by elimination, because A, B, C, D though is not even happening in the paragraph. This is happening. This analogy is happening, right?